Great. Good morning, viewers. Thank you for joining us today on My Climate Story. We have today joining us from Nigeria is Gloria Bulus, who is the CEO of Bridge the Gap. Gloria Bulus is an awardee of the Green Ring Award that was given by Mr. Al Gore a few days ago at the last concluded Climate Reality Global Training. Gloria, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Tosin. So I feel honored to be on this program today.
Great. And also joining us from Zambia is Reverend Damon Mkandawire, who is a reverend in the United Church of Christ in Zambia. He's also a Green Faith Fellow, an active environmental champion in Zambia. And they'll be sharing with us today how their interactions has been responding to climate change in their communities and how this has driven them to not just observe, but respond actively to resolving local climate crisis in their individual countries. So permit me to start with you, Gloria. Please, you're the CEO of Bridge the Gap. What do you do at Bridge the Gap?
Okay, it's actually Bridge That Gap.
Bridge That Gap, sorry. Thank you.
So Bridge That Gap Initiative is a non-profit organization, and one of our main focus is on governance, education, and majorly environment, which is actually my core area of expertise. And of course, environment is actually really very wide. So we're looking at quite a lot of aspects of the environment. We're looking at renewable energy. We're looking at climate smart city, waste management, carbon pricing, pollution, and a whole lot in environment. We're even looking at the environmental health, climate smart agriculture, quite a lot about environment. And then one of our main focus again is on environmental governance, because the organization is also focused on governance. So and our main target basically is women and then young persons, and then also the government, to see how we can influence policies. We can actually be a part of as many governance process as possible that we can, because aside doing our efforts as at community level, there's a need also to influence government decision and government policies. But then before you do that, you need to understand some of their processes. So basically, those are some of the what Bridge That Gap is all about.
Yep. Hello. Okay, sorry, we just lost. Can you hear me, Gloria?
Yes.
Okay, great. At the point we just lost you. Okay. Reverend Damon, can you please introduce yourself? What do you do with the organization?
Thank you, Tosin. Like you said, I'm Damon Mkandawire, an ordained minister in the United Church of Zambia. Currently, I'm serving in the church and I'm serving as hospital administrator. But for this platform, like you mentioned, I'm a Green Faith Fellow, 17 in an environmental educator as well, and so that is the work that I do. Thank you.
Great. So, Gloria, let me start with you. Can you give us a background to climate change impact in Nigeria? I read a research work about 8 years ago that says that it was actually done by BBC, that Africa it's one of the most vulnerable continents to the impact of climate change. But and some of those reasons could be because of lack of awareness, because of lack of capacity, and also lack of resources. So when I read that and I look at situations around Africa, how does that story tell in your country, Gloria? What are the things you see that maybe goes to buttress that research work that you live in a vulnerable country?
Usually, when it comes to the impacts of climate change, the poor nations are always at the receiving end. And so we can't compare developed nations and underdeveloped nations because, of course, developed nations have the resources, they have the capacity, they have the manpower to adapt and also to mitigate impacts of climate change. But for developing countries or underdeveloped countries, it takes a while and then they begin to struggle aside other issues that they're facing. And then they're now hit again with the impacts of climate change.
Mm,
And so basically, that is what you said is actually the truth. The research has stated it already. Now, in Nigeria, we're faced with a lot of climate change impact. And then, of course, we're still battling. Like I always tell people in Nigeria, we're still at the point of an adaptation and mitigation
mm,
until we're able to build up our adaptive capacity and then we can't really go into other solutions of climate change like other countries are doing. And then also we need to up our game in mitigating. But of course, how do we adapt and how do we mitigate when there's little awareness about
mm,
climate change in Nigeria? And people don't really understand. Like I think in Nigeria we believe so much in the God factor that when we see things
mm,
are changing, like where I come from, the core northern part of Nigeria, they will say in Hausa, Allah ni kadara. That means it is God that has bring this upon us. And
mm,
so, but then you have forgotten that God has given us these natural resources for free. He has blessed us with it. It's scriptural. And I think every religion believes that nature is a gift from God. But then, why will God destroy what He has given?
mm,
Definitely He wouldn't destroy it. And so it is your activity and my activity and everyone's activity that is affecting the climate. And so when you look at the years past, it wasn't like this before. And then as the years keeps going, like we begin to have a lot of impacts. And so these impacts are no more like hearsay, they are no more like scientific sayings. It's happening already
mm,
because last year we had inconsistency in rainfall. It was really evident in northern part of Nigeria that we had prolonged rainfall last year. And I think even the Hamatan, the inconsistencies is evident. I think in 2018, we had excessive temperatures in Nigeria. I mean,
mm,
that was the very first time I actually took note of the
mm,
heat in Nigeria. So these things are evident, and you can actually even see its impact already on agriculture
mm.
and so many other sectors in the country already.
Wow, incredible. Thank you. But at those points, that actually exposes you to the impacts of climate change around the country where you're from. But at what point do you personally have any sort of impact? Um, maybe in your community or to your friend. At what point do you feel like this is serious and it needs to some action or response, and you decide to do something about it? At what point would
Okay. Um, I think basically, let me just go back to my background. Like when I found myself in the environmental space,
yeah?
because at the point I went back to study environmental studies and natural resources. And so when I started that, I knew I loved the environment. I had this love, and I really wanted to have a clean environment. I wanted to have a healthy environment. And then so I began to take interest in the environment, and I found that I began to find out some of the impacts on the environment itself. But then it didn't have any meaning on me, not until in 2017
mm,
that I went for the climate reality training in Seattle in Washington State. That was when I really had a clearer and a better picture of climate change impacts, and I was able to put one on one together. And so afterwards, I began to like, okay, now because I had been equipped, I had
mm,
built my capacity after the training, and so I began to like, will I say monitor? I began to study some more. I began to be more observant, and so I began to see the difference, what the impacts that are happening in the environment. And so it was at that point that I knew that a lot was already happening
mm,
globally, and
mm,
and then Nigeria is not left behind because they're part of the global world. And
mm,
so that was when I noticed that, oh, it's already happening here, but just that little or no attention is paid to that, on the climate change impact. And just like I said earlier, the God factor. People feel, okay, fine, it's God that gives us the rain, it's God that brings the sun and everything like
mm,
that. And so when it is not there, everybody feels it is all about God. God hasn't given us this, God hasn't given us that. And
mm,
but then it's already but we on this other side that understand that, yeah, the climate is changing, can actually point it out and say the climate is changing. And so
mm.
it was at that point I actually began to realize that the impacts were already evident, and I began to pay attention on the impacts.
Wow, great. Thank you so much, Gloria. And Damon, let me come to you. Can you give us a contextual description of climate change impact in Zambia? Hello, Damon. Hello, Damon. Okay, great. Um, I think his internet is frozen right now. So please let me come back to you, Gloria. And so it's quite interesting the picture you just painted. And well, some of those impacts have they had any sort of socio-political influences, or in terms of security or displacement? How else are you worried about climate change impacts in Nigeria?
Just like you mentioned, like right now Nigeria is all over the news when it comes to insecurity, conflicts happening around. And
Mm,
looking back, you can actually relate them to natural resources.
mm,
And because if we're talking about the Fulani herdsmen conflict in Nigeria, we all know the lifestyle of the Fulani man. We all know their source of livelihood is the cattle rearing, and so they move from one location to the other, and of course that has been what has brought some of the banditry happening, the kidnappings happening around in Nigeria. So I can actually boldly say climate change is one of the factors that contributes to the banditry, the conflicts happening around in Nigeria. Because if this resources are natural resources are readily available where the
mm,
Fulani people are located,
mm,
I'm very sure we wouldn't have to move around. And then if you watch the pattern, like during the raining season, there's less movement. They don't really
mm,
move around.
mm,
They probably static in a particular place because, of course, some of them too might go into farming and stuff like that. And so it's during the dry season, all in the bid of looking for where to feed their cattle and also themselves. So you see, if we have these natural resources in abundance, our forest resources, or biodiversity, let me say biodiversity in abundance, then I don't think we will have this Fulani people moving around. But it's so sad that over the years we keep losing these resources, and every year these resources keep depleting, and of course, it all boils down to climate change. And so, aside having this conflicts and banditry, we also have forced migration, because people are forced to migrate. I have been to Lagos years back, and I met someone in an Okada man who speaks Hausa in Lagos, and so
Sorry, what
he
do you mean by
told me,
Okada? What do you mean by Okada, man?
okay, sorry, actually, it actually came to mind because of some of the viewers. Like in Nigeria, we have this motorcycle that can move you from one place to the other, and then so you pay the rider, and so a lot of some persons do it as a source of livelihood to earn some income to take care of their family. And so I found out that there were people that migrated from the northern part of Nigeria down to the I think Lagos is in the west, I think. So they came all the way to the west to earn a living, and you actually find them all over um, all over Nigeria. And so I engaged the motorcycle rider in a conversation, and he actually told me he had to leave where he was, and he came all the way from Borno State, which was another extreme end of the north, and then coming all the way to the west just to just for to enhance his to get something and to get make some income. And so he said because of the inconsistency in rainfall, and of which of course they are facing food insecurity, he had to leave his state, his family, and come down to Lagos to actually earn a living. And so most of them do that especially during the dry season, and then when the rain starts, they go back again um, to their various states and to see what they can actually farm. And then at times again, the women are left behind to farm during the rainy season, while the men leave them and they come around to other places to find another source of income. So the impacts keep increasing as the day goes by, until you see they keep migrating. So aside migrating, we also have the food insecurity, which has brought in a lot of hike in prices of foodstuffs in Nigeria, and which is really very worrisome, because aside the cost the conflicts distorting and banditry distorting farmers from going into their farms to farm during the planting season, also the inconsistency in rainfall. Now the rainfall pattern has been distorted. So usually when the rains is supposed to be at its peak, probably the onset of rainfall is supposed to start in March, and then of course it doesn't start in March, or probably it starts and then there's early cessation, or there's a cessation in between the raining season. You see that hampers with food production. Yeah. So I mean that has actually really caused a lot of food insecurity and led to drought and a lot of food insecurity around Nigeria.
It's the picture you just painted. It can be daunting. But
Yeah.
when you imagine all these scenarios you just painted, as a person, how does this come to you? How do you feel about what's happening around?
Well, at times I really feel like I could just stand in the middle of the country and begin to scream, "Can't you all see it happening?" I mean, like at times I really wish I could just I could change things.
Hmm.
Like I could wake up overnight, like have a paper and a biro and then just do some changes and write it down, and then it comes into being. At times I just wish, like when I see people doing activities that are hampering the environment, especially some of our fossil fuel industries, and you know the cutting down of trees in Nigeria, and so many other unfriendly activities or practices that happen in the country. I really feel like I could just grab them by the collar and begin to scream, "Can't you see what is happening? Aren't you feeling the impact?" I really feel like I want to scream at times, but then I just realized I need to take a break. I need to take it one step at a time. I need to understand where people are coming from. I need to understand their level of understanding. There's some persons that can't help it, especially probably in the rural community, because if they do not cut down trees probably for the firewood, how then can they survive? But then going back to the big industries, they're actually making money from it. Big fossil fuel dependent companies, they're actually making money from there. You understand? So I mean, it's a two-way thing. It's You're looking at it on both sides that the rich are actually making something from it, and then the poor too are actually destroying the environment because they really do not have a choice. So I mean, I try to understand, especially at the from the rural community, that they are left with no choice. And so, while at the other side, we're engaging in activism, and this other side, where the rural community is, we're engaging in more of advocacy, more of pleading and lobbying and sensitization. While on the other side, we're actually not just activism, but also lobbying, because of course we need to lobby at times to get things done. You need to, like, lobby, you need to cite, you need to plead, and then at times you need to take the bull by the horn and say it like it is and demand for it in a very, in a very fierce manner.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. But are you willing to share with us one of those such experiences you've had where maybe you had to lobby or you intervene in the community that is suffering from the impact of these losses? Can you share that experience with us? And what have you learned from that experience with people?
Um, well, for me, like I said, I have been walking around. My main focus, like I really have so much interest in climate governance, which is really very important. So I know I have we have tried to lobby around policies, especially the environmental policies at large, because I really do not want to narrow myself on climate, because of course, if we are looking at climate, we are living biodiversity, we're living waste, and there are policies around that. So we have had situations where policies were not favorable and were not well captured, that we had to lobby the government officials. There are times we had to, even from the will I say from the back end, we have to see how we can push. And another thing we had done is that, because I am into governance too, we looked at the state development plan, which has captured of course there's the environmental sector, some of the actions the state will take in regards to development of the state, and we had actually sat down on our own and had reviewed those state development plan and actually submitted that to the government. And aside to state, because state development plan is a 5 years plan, and so if you miss it out, because for my state, the state development plan, the new one will be, it's been developed now for 2020 to the next 5 years. And aside that, again, we try to analyze budget. We want to see what is allocated to the ministry, especially for environment, for to address what are the environmental projects, what is being allocated there. It's one thing to allocate money in budget, is another thing to have cash backings for them. And then it's another thing for those projects to be implemented. And so we track some of those projects. We ensure that some of them are being executed, but we haven't really released a final report on some of the projects that we have tracked. We're still doing that. Then I start that again with conflict areas in the state, and we have gone on advocacy visit. We have first of all, we equipped ourselves, our capacity in terms of hazard profiling, because some of these things are happening are hazards, and so we had to, like, equip ourselves, equipped ourselves first, and through a network that I actually created, which is called Network of Civil Society in Environment, we're able to. So we did a capacity building where we trained on the hazard profiling. Then we also did the vulnerability compatibility assessment, so that we built capacity around there. So first things first, we have gone on an advocacy visit. We have spoken to the district heads of that community. There is one community, Kajuru, which the whole world is already in. It's already in news that they've had conflict over for a while now, and the killings are really worrisome. So I thought, okay, there was a need for us to do a profile of that particular local government. And so we were able to meet with the district heads of the 32 village, the village heads of the 32 villages that are affected, and where we had an engagement with them. It was quite a very rich engagement, and then we had them really voice out what they had, and we gathered a lot from there. So, and we are seek for partnership with the chairman of the local government, or which he has asked us to submit written form, some of the like more like a concept note of, so that he will understand the project better. So we've spoken to his essay, and hopefully because of one or two things we haven't submitted the document, but I hope we should be able to submit the document sometime next week. So those are little things I have had to do to probably see how we can make impact. We can actually influence um, some of the things happening around here, to see how we can actually make a difference around here. There's quite a lot, but this one, I think this is what's sharing for now.
Yeah, quite incredible work. Quite incredible work. I must say. But in addition to the successes you've had, uh, what are some of the pushbacks? Some of the times you've had to maybe expose yourself to some risk? Has it been all rosy?
Well, it hasn't been very rosy for me as a person. Like people feel it's been really very tough, and people feel like, yes, I'm actually making some impact, but I feel I could still do better.
Hmm.
But then I take it one step at a time. At times, because one, it's personal funds I use, and so
Hmm.
there are quite a number of limitations for me on how I can reach out. But then at times it's not all about funding, it's all about the impact you can make, and how the strategies you can put on ground. Like for me, I've had trainings, and I have worked like the network that I created, the network of society and environment, is is not dependent on any development partner. We've had development partners come into the state to give technical support to a lot of projects, to a lot of coalitions, but I can tell you that all our success stories was without any development partner at all. And so we were able to do some of these things on our own. We're able to leverage on each other's strength. We're able to leverage on each other's capacity. And from within the network, we're able to get people to come and train us, like those that have expertise around certain areas, to train others on what to do. So it has been a struggling time for me, like even going all the way down to Kajuru, the local government that is so known with a lot of conflicts and,
Hmm.
conflicts. And so, like, a lot of people were scared. Like, when I put up the training in the WhatsApp group, I told them, if you're not ready, well, if you're not ready for this, is actually it might be scary, it might expose you to
Hmm.
one or two dangers, but then if you know you're not ready, then you shouldn't even come for the training in the first place. So those were my conditions. Then I start that again. I have a project I want to do, some in Kaduna, but of course there are areas that have a lot of insecurity, and these are areas that have very rich forest resources that have been depleted, that we have lost over the years, and there's a need for us to do probably to restore those forest resources, and also see how we can impact the people there, and how we can restore their livelihoods. In fact, for those projects, I've actually developed a strategy document, a 10 point strategy, to see how we can engage in those areas, from partnership, looking at partnership, to research, to developing a frame, working with communities. And of course, I believe so much in sustainability. So when I work with communities, I try to give them ownership of
Hmm.
the project. And aside that, again, we leverage on what are their capabilities, what are those resources that they have. So I believe so much in local resource mobilization, because some of those things that we feel we must have big money to do are things that we
Hmm.
can actually do within ourselves. We can actually just, okay, you have this, you have that, let's put it together. Or I have this knowledge, or I know this person, why don't you put it together? So those are some little setbacks that I have had along the line. Then at times again, you meet people that don't believe in climate change, those climate denials, and then it begins to put you back. You really have to go back again and start telling them, no, 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 this is important. You have to start explaining, going back and forth and back and forth. But aside those little challenges, I think the other side is actually sweeter and better. It looks very promising, and it gives
Talking
me so
about the sweetness and the recognition, and that will bring me to my next question. You were just recently rewarded or acknowledged for your good work by Vice President Al Gore, and I think you're the first African to have that honor, the Green Ring Award. So, how do you feel about it? Did you see it coming before?
I never saw it coming. Um, I think I should share my story. I
Thank
woke
you.
up in the morning and I saw on Twitter, on Facebook, and on I think, and then I also got an email from Michael Tenkwa, and he posted it on Twitter and everywhere that he was invited for a panel discussion during the climate reality training. And so that was the first thing I saw, because usually when I wake up in the morning, I look, I check my emails, check what is online, and then before I pray, or at times I pray before I do that, because my devotional is in my phone. So at times, when I put on my data, the messages begin to sync. So at times I try to, if I can avoid it, I pray first before. If I can avoid it, I pray first before looking at my emails and other things. And so I saw his post that he was invited for a panel um, discussion during the climate reality training, and I was like, oh, that's great. And but I was like, I don't believe in like posting like personal letters on Facebook. And so I did that, and then I saw, so I told myself, wow, when will I ever have this opportunity? And I said, after all, what do you even know? That was what I told myself. So I told myself, why don't you just try to build capacity, your capacity, and that's all, and move on. But then it was as if I was in the room with someone and I heard something say. And at that time, I wasn't feeling too well. I was down with fever. And I heard something tell me, celebrate other people's wins. Yours will come in a big way. I mean, I could tell that it was as if there was someone in that room that told me that. And I ignored it. So I went on Twitter. I congratulated him. I saw other people making their posts. They are now mentors, stuff like that. And so we had a branch meeting, and they said we should try. And so he said he posted his letter to encourage people to apply for the climate reality training. And I was like, okay, fine. A day before the closing of the training, I did that too. I screen grabbed my own letter. But then I looked at the letter. His was written, like it was a letter that was written. Mine was like a normal email that was sent. So it was after when the training started, after his own session, then I looked at it and I was like, wow, my session will actually be moderated by Al Gore himself, you know? So I let it be. Okay, so shortly before then, that day in the afternoon, I left, I went to see a tailor who's a family friend. So while I was sitting at her shop, I was waiting for a friend of mine to come. And while I was holding my phone, and then the email entered, I read the first few lines. That was all I did. And I shouted, then I gave him the phone. Then he was like, wow, he was one that read the mail. I was like, wow, I need to touch your profile so that to meet up with Al Gore standard. That's what he told me. So I laughed. And funny enough, I didn't respond to the email. So after like 3 days, the person that contacted me for an international team now sent me a reminder. He sent it to my organization email. He sent it to my Yahoo mail. He sent it to my Gmail. That's like in case I didn't see the first mail, the previous mail he sent. And so I responded. I apologized for the delay, and I accepted the offer. But I was thinking, what then will I say? And so the training came. Of course, it was Nigeria. I couldn't get into the recording studio. The internet was bad. So I had to stay back on Zoom. We had some technical challenges. I wasn't composed. So I was like hooked up into the recording studio from Zoom. And then the light was not so bright because it was dark. The time we're recording, it was dark. That was the session. That was last week, Wednesday. After the whole session, they told us we were coming back for a recording shoot. I was like, recording shoot? And so last week was really very busy for me. We had quite a lot of, because of the alarming rape cases coming around globally and even in Nigeria. So we had some rape cases around that was called upon, because I think one of the focus of my objectives of Bridge That Gap is to look at issues affecting children like sexual assault and some other things like that. So I completely forgot, because I'm so engrossed in the environment. I actually forget that those were the objectives, one of the objectives of my of Bridge That Gap. So we're busy for 2 days. And so I told one of my colleagues, Cynthia, I was like, and they sent us an email that we're going to have a follow-up shoot. So when they say follow-up shoot, I think they'll look at the videos where there are errors, they're going to correct them. So those were my explanations to her. So I came back. So it was scheduled for Friday. So as usual, we're on Zoom, we're all talking freely, we're giving all sort of stories to ourselves and blah blah blah. And so we're moved into the recording studio. As usual, I remained on Zoom and it took me into the recording studio. And then all I could hear was my dog came on, and then the next thing was we're giving an award. Tears rolled out from my eyes, and of course, Tim couldn't even talk. Tim can harass everyone. He can tease everyone. He teases Al Gore. He teases everyone. But Tim couldn't say anything. At some point, I was like, Tim, you're not talking. He said, no. When he's in a shock, he doesn't talk. And I don't know. I don't even know how the Green Ring Award happened. I remember when I was training in 2017. I know they gave some people the Green Ring Award. I never expected I would ever get that kind of award. I just believe awards are meant for some other persons and not for me. And here I am. I was given a Green Award, and I bet with you, Tosin, I haven't had good rest after I got that award. Now, as of yesterday, we're able to track 66 platforms that reported this award.
Wow.
My link is on fire. The friend request is huge on LinkedIn. The messages are huge on LinkedIn. I have to keep responding. While I was busy tackling LinkedIn, I didn't even know Facebook was on fire. I was battling with WhatsApp. I was battling with phone calls. Then I didn't even know, as of I think Tuesday or so, or Monday, I went into Twitter and I began to, in fact, I've been so overwhelmed. I tried to respond to each person like one after the other, thank you. I kept on doing that on Twitter. I didn't do that on Facebook because I know I won't be able to do that. On LinkedIn, I tried to do that. I am so overwhelmed that I began to receive a lot of phone calls. I was even able to talk to the Minister for Environment. I got a congratulatory letter from the senator representing Kaduna South, which is my own, where I come from. And then everybody is actually just waiting for the award to come into the country. Like my friends are actually planning a coup. I'll just see on the WhatsApp group that there's going to be a meeting. Like it happened today, and the next thing I'll hear is Glory, you're not invited. You're not a part of this meeting. And there was one that I mistakenly joined when I saw the link, and they chased me out. So everybody keeps calling, we have to celebrate it big. We don't forget there's COVID-19. We need to do something. The world needs to hear, even if the government doesn't say anything, but this is a big win. And then it comes to the fact that I'm actually female. In fact, I had an interview with Voice of Nigeria all the way from UK, and I'm really overwhelmed with this. I can't really cope. That at times I just really think when I sleep and I wake up, somebody will tell me that no, this is not real, and then I go back to the street. Like today when I was coming to the office, I deliberately walked down to the office, and so I told myself, after receiving an award, you're actually walking down to the office, not like you don't have another means of going, probably a car or something. But then I find out that this award actually has come with a very big responsibility for me.
Mm.
And one person told me the truth. I called him to discuss something with him, and he told me, he said, I saw people congratulating you, but he told me something. He said, to whom much is given, much is expected. So I had to call up some of my friends and begin to ask them, what do they think? How do I go up? This is what I have in mind.
Mm.
And I took a book, and I had to start writing something down, because this is not all about Nigeria.
Mm.
It is all about the whole of Africa, that I need to make an impact and justify the fact that I was given that
Mm.
Green Ring Award. Aside that, again, I'm actually the West Africa Regional Coordinator for African Climate Reality. So that has increased the burden again. And so, but I don't know how I feel about it. I, when you're excited about something, when you feel it's what you deserve or within
Mm.
your
Mm.
capability or I don't know how to explain it. But
Mm.
then when you feel this is too big for you,
For
like
you.
when you wear a very big shoe, then how will I walk in shoes that are really
Mm.
very big? You know how it is? Will it fall off? You understand? So I really do not know right now. So, but then I know that I'm open up for anything, for partnership, for collaboration, to see how I can get this done. So I'm really excited. I've started getting one or two emails, but then I don't mind if I get more and more and more, so that we can
Mm.
extend this work. I can't do
Mm.
it alone.
Mm.
Um, there has to be massive collaboration for
Mm.
this work to hit the whole of
Mm.
Africa.
Mm. Mm. Wow, great! Thank you so much, Gloria. And if there's one word of advice you want to give to everybody, especially to people who are like you volunteering for acts like this, who may not get the kind of recognition you got, but sometimes could feel like it's not a job that often you get a good thank you for. What's the word of advice to volunteers to keep doing what they're doing in terms of responding and creating advocacy, awareness, and all that about environmental and climate change issues?
I think for me, first, I I think we need to define what we want.
Mm.
Are you in there for the name? Are you in there
Mm.
for the money?
Mm.
What do you want? Or are you in there to make an impact? Are you in there to change the world? You need to define it. Um, I have never applied for any funding anywhere,
Mm.
and I've been telling people I'm not sure I am ready. Not until like a few months ago that I began to feel I do not have so much capacity to extend this work. And that was when I began to think of probably began to check fundings online, because people have actually sent me funding opportunities, but I have never looked into one before.
Mm.
And so we need to define what we want. I'm the least person that I expect to get this award. I never expected it, but people are excited. And when I told my branch manager, for African Climate, I was like, oh, that means I have to do some more. She told me, no, you do not have to do some more because you're already doing it. So I think people see what I am doing
Mm.
already, and they believe so much in me. You understand? So you need to define your purpose in whatever action you're taking. What are you there for? Are you there for the gains, or are you there for the impact? And if you can clearly define it, then you'll be able to achieve what you want. But if you're there for the goals, if you're there because you want for the glory, for the name, then the day the name is not there, then you won't
Mm.
be able to continue. The day those fundings are there, then
Mm.
you won't be able to continue. One, you have to build your passion around environment. Like everybody knows me. Here
Mm.
in Kaduna, my friends call me Saronian climate, Jacadian climate. That's the queen of climate, the princess of climate. You understand? Because when you're around me, that's what I speak. And so if you're in my car, you wouldn't just throw trash from outside my car. I'm not perfect, but I'm making conscious
Mm.
effort towards that. And so I when I go to buy anything and you put it in a polythene bag, I tell you no, I'll drop it in my car or I'll hold it in my hands. I don't mind, I paid for it. So at times I do that. You understand? Because it is in me. So you have to put that in you. You have to have that passion, because your passion is going to be your driving force. If you have your passion, you need to believe that this can be done. Now the world looks at it like, yes, the climate crisis is huge, or the climate crisis is not real. There's nothing that can be done about it. Then you need to tell yourself that yes, we can achieve it, we can make it, we can get it done. From our tiny voices, we can actually build on it and make our voices heard. The media is there. We have the traditional media, we have the social media, we have our voices. If I scream alone now, few people will hear me. But if we join our voices and we begin to scream, let's say 5, 6 of us begin to scream here, the world, a lot of people, it will hear us compared to one person screaming. So we need to just believe in ourselves. We need to have a focus. We need to have that passion, and we need to believe that we can all get it done.
Wow, awesome! Thank you so much for honoring our invitation today, Gloria. I appreciate all you do, and I would like to end with this positive message to you, or prayer. It depends on how you see. It reads, may all the healers of the earth find their own healing. May they be fueled by the passionate love for the earth. May they know that their fears, but not be swayed by their fears. May they feel their anger and yet not be ruled by rage. May they honor their grief, but not be paralyzed by sorrow. May they transform fears, rage, and grief into compassion and the inspiration to act in service of what they love. May they find the help, the resources, the courage, the luck, the strength, the love, the health, the joy that they need to do this work. May they be in the right place at the right time, in the right way. May they bring alive a great awakening, opening a listening ear to hear the earth's voice. Transform imbalance to balance. Transform hate and greed to love. Blessed be the healers of earth. And blessed are you, Gloria.
Thank you. Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll get a chance to chat again.
Thank you.
So continue being good, okay? Go and do more.
Right. Yeah, I can.
You're not alone. Unseen forces are with you. And some of those things you began to see and to experience yourself.
Amen.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today on my earth story and my climate story. Bye-bye.
Bye.